Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Removal Sanity, and today I'm reviewing Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden on the Series X, developed by Don't Nod and published by Focus Entertainment. So what is Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden? Banishers, Ghost of New Eden is a story-driven action RPG where your decisions carry dramatic consequences. The premise is you play as a couple of banishers, Red and Antea, who are experienced spirit hunters entrusted with the daunting task of dispelling a malevolent curse through powerful rituals. However, when Antea is killed and turned into a spirit, you find yourself facing a choice. Torn between honouring your oath to the living and saving your departed partner, how far will you go for love? The game boasts meaningful decisions to either blame, ascend, or banish New Eden's inhabitants, may they be living or dead. Battle supernatural forces, unlock new gear and abilities, and uncover secrets of a North American settlement. First up is accessibility. With regards to accessibility, there are a great number of options for all who need it, from button mapping, stick sensitivity, subtitle size and background enhancement, to even having the ability to turn off parallax. For those with light sensitivity or diminished contrast vision, high contrast options and HUD displays can be tweaked to suit the user's preference. It's clear the developers want the largest number of people to be able to play their game. Next is gameplay. A good story-driven action RPG is much like a good film, in that an engaging storyline is switched out appropriately for action and back again to keep the entertainment at a constant level. This may sound easy, but it isn't, and keeping that level of intensity going for more than 50 plus hours is even harder. Thankfully, the developers Don't Nod have a lot of experience in this area, with the likes of Vampire and Life is Strange under their belt. The game starts with our protagonist entering a new coastal town settlement at the request of a fellow banisher to dispel a great evil. The game is uniquely set around 1695, in which colonial expansion is taking place in a fictitious zone called New Eden, and the harsh realities of that time period. It is here we understand the dynamic of the protagonist relationship, with Antea being the master and Red being the student, but also that they are a couple and the unique challenges that also brings. It's within this tutorial section that we are introduced to the main gameplay loop of being a kind of colonial settler detective called Banishers that deal with those that are haunted by spirits. They use rituals, combat, puzzle solving and exploration to get to the bottom of some serious human stories that will push your moral and ethical buttons. You will often be engaging in choice-based narratives with the game's NPCs, learning what you can from them and using that knowledge with other NPCs to progress the story, all the while being attacked from wildlife, ghosts and other ethereal beings in a bid to find evidence to help bring a conclusion to that particular case. It may sound a bit boring, but this is where the developer's experience of switching out engaging storylines with third-person hack-and-slash mechanics and an open-world rife for exploration come into play. After an incident at the coastal town, you awake as Red in a seaside cave to the realization that you have failed in your task, and your partner has been killed in the process. However, soon after, she appears in the form of a ghost, and from this moment onwards, you're able to switch between them both freely on your journey. It is also at this point the game prompts a moral choice in the form of an oath to Antea. You can save Antea and bring her back, but to do so, all future cases will mean that you will need to blame someone in order to take their life force for Antea to sustain her for a future ritual. The other choice is to continue with your professional responsibilities and only use ascend, i.e. to heaven, or banish, i.e. to hell, on the residents, in which Antea will ascend to heaven once your main task is complete. You can break your oath at any time, but the game does point out there will be consequences for doing so. This may sound simple at first, but trust me, as more cases pile up and the truth of the residence is revealed, things become moralistically harder than you can imagine in how best to deal with each one. The cases themselves are not simple either, and will require both banishers' expertise in finding clues and gathering evidence before concluding, based on that info, which ritual, in your opinion, to use. Even when a case is complete, progression through the game will unlock secondary phases for cases you have already resolved, so keeping an eye out on the map is needed. Whilst the storytelling of each case is compelling, simply chatting to NPCs won't cut it, and you'll need to explore the world around you carefully to really get to the core of the cases. Now, as Red walks in the land of the living, he can only interact within it, but Antea can do more and see beyond into the spirit realm. She will often guide Red to clues and unseen items, and further along will gain abilities to access alternative paths in the living world for Red to explore further. This symbiotic nature is beautifully done, with you swapping to Antea through a form of possession, and once done, relinquish so Red can continue in his own body. The combination of protagonists also extend into combat and puzzle-solving elements within the game. With regards to combat, the game provides the standard mix of fast, light and heavy attacks, slow, long-range attacks, dodges and blocks. What is different is how the different protagonists' symbiotic nature works, with each of them having very different attacks. It pushes the idea of you constantly switching between both to get the very best combination of attacks depending on the foe you are facing. Enemies in the game are a combination of corpse and spirit, with a lot being both at once. For example, zombie wolves will need their twisted flesh to be destroyed before the spirit is released, and then it can be finally dealt with. To help with this, Red is more attuned for dealing damage to physical enemies, whilst Antea is more attuned to dealing damage to spirits. That's not to say they can't both attack the opposite, it's just the damage they deal is more for their respective talents. When it comes to attacks, Red has a sword and torch for close quarters, a slow loading musket for long range, and a special one-hit banish ability. Antea uses punches for close quarters, has faster dodging, a long-range target warping attack, and an area effect blast ability. However, there is a caveat to switching between Red and Antea due to their symbiotic nature. You see, Antea's attacks needs mana, and this can only be created by Red's attacks, where he builds up said mana bar for Antea then to use. For most enemies, not being able to switch to Antea isn't a deal breaker, it's just longer and harder to deal with them. However, there are enemies that will only be damaged by Antea, so a careful dance is needed when those come into play. As you progress the main storyline, more special abilities are unlocked for Antea, and in doing so provides a skill tree with clusters of perks that benefit both parties. The perk system is split between physical and spiritual nodes, which can be unlocked using their respective points once gained from felling elite enemies and levelling up. What's great about this skill tree is that you can refund a choice without penalty, and move a perk choice within a certain cluster freely as well. This means you can at any time really switch your perks about to suit the enemy or environment around you. It's within this environment where the puzzles housing a majority of special equipment come into play, allowing you to customize your protagonist's stats to higher levels. Each equipment comes with its own unique stats that will drastically affect your banisher's attacks and abilities. These item stats can be further buffed by the game's leveling mechanic, which requires you to have enough specific resources to upgrade the item in question. Now, while some of these resources can be brought at some sellers in the settlements you find, a majority will be found out and about in the wilderness. The map starts off small but develops into a much larger open world, housing a vast array of blocked paths, hidden items, collectible upgrade materials, and a variety of elite foes to be summoned. A vast number of paths will be blocked off until you unlock particular special abilities, which ensures that there's always returning to areas you previously have explored for more secrets to uncover. This is where the Banisher's rituals will be mostly used, either for seeing echoes from the past, speaking to deceased ghosts, or summoning special tormented foes to defeat to help unlock perks. For cursed chests, for example, which house special equipment, these can only be cleansed by finding 3 carvings. These are often hidden locally, which will need extensive exploration to find before using an unbounding ritual to claim the prize within. Aspects like these help the world feel much more alive and give you more options than just the cases you are progressing. Cases aren't locked into either, so should you want to switch location and tackle something else, you can simply fast travel using a bonfire and explore to your heart's content. Next is graphics. Graphically, this game is stunning, with its protagonist character models being particularly impressive. NPCs, on the other hand, are a little less so, but still very well done, and all animations are smooth and fluid. Interactions with said NPCs happen in real time as well, and even though the camera zoom in on the facial features, depending on the location, you can still see life continuing in the background as you converse. Exploration, as mentioned, is paramount, but it would be tedious without a varied backdrop to delve into. Thankfully, the environmental areas are vastly different depending on the location, and blend from dark, dense woodlands, dark caves, snowy mountain forts, swamp-laden settlements, beaches with crashed ships, and even the other side available for you to explore. Using Unreal 5, it's been expertly crafted that even though you need to explore for resources, you actually want to explore and see what this strange new world offers. Light sources are used with great effect, from punching dark caverns to torches lighting up dark huts, enough to ensure the gloomy look isn't too depressing. Combat is equally visually impressive as you strike against a vast selection of disturbing foes. Attacks are weighty and explosive in equal measure, and visual indicators allow for you to ensure you are always aware of what is about you, regardless of whom you are locked onto. Another visual treat is the form of the transition from one protagonist to another, with Antyr's form actually providing better visual clarity for the ethereal beings, with a brighter haze on screen boosting their image. Banishers offers quality and performance options, and for this review I stayed with quality to push the game to its limits. At no point during the game's intense action phases or close-up NPC interactions was there noticeable lag, popping or tearing. However, there was some serious slowdown and stutter when transitioning from open world to your inventory or map. Please note though, this was reviewed on a pre-release version, and the developers have confirmed a day one patch which should resolve this issue. And last up is sound. For me, though, it's the stories themselves that sold me on this game, and it's the quality of the voice work and writing that sells it perfectly. Each individual hauntings are truly compelling, and every new piece of information fleshes out these cases and your connection with those being haunted. Rightly or wrongly, you start to feel very strongly about the characters in these cases, and when the inevitable conclusion has to be made, and your choice on how to resolve it is standing in front of you, mixed emotions will be at play. I have never been so conflicted in my moral duty towards these individuals and that of my in-game partner, and this is solely because of the interactions between Red and Antyr that solidify your bond with them with each tender and banterous moment. The actors voicing these characters and others elevate the already good writing to higher levels that sticks with you.
That was entertaining.
It's good to see you smile.
Wait. Something's there.
When it comes to music, the game resolves to let the world's wildlife do the majority of the sound as you make your way through the game, with only music being infused when the action or cutscenes takes place. It's at this point a combination of drums, flutes and choir are blended with long drawn out tones are used to ensure that the sounds are unnerving by nature. When it comes to the game's sound effects, it does a superb job from helping to sell you that particular environment you inhabit with telling wildlife sounds, from bird calls to groaning trees to raging winds. In certain locations, it goes even further to give you an audible hint of where a collectible may be hiding that can be straight up unnerving. Combat is where the game really shines though, with its general attack sounding weighty, brutal and punishing from Red, and ethereal, powerful and supernatural from Atia. My recommendation here is a good quality soundbar to ensure that every interaction and every attack from both protagonists are captured to their fullest. And this leads me onto the rating of the game. Now I rate games in order of avoid, on sale, great purchase and must own. My rating for Banishers Ghosts of New Eden is a must own. The game has taken me by surprise, as I thought I might be a bit wiped out with action-adventure RPGs. However, the compelling stories, narrative choices that do actually matter, blended with fun, intense action and enjoyable exploration, had me fully engaged all the time. For comparison, I'd say this is more akin to The Witcher 2, with its more intense personalised stories and action, than say the full vast open world of Witcher 3. The game is currently priced on Xbox at £49.99 or approximately $60, and depending on your skill and patience would give you about 25 hours worth of gameplay. Due to the expansive world, multiple endings, versatile skill trees, collectibles and recurring elite enemies to summons, you could easily add another 10 plus hours. Don't Nod, in my opinion, have produced another superb and compelling game that shows they are going from strength to strength. Any enthusiasts of story-driven action RPG genres will be well placed to keep this developer at the top of their list, and this game in their collection. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I do hope you like this review, and if you do, please like, share and subscribe if you so wish. And if you would like to put some notes or even just a comment in the comment section, I do like reading them. Anyway, have a great time gaming, and I'll see you all again soon.